Good afternoon. It's actually 11:45. I'm more or less just starting the day in terms of things that I want to get done per this video. I did some things already, obviously, 11:45. I mean, I've been up for 6 hours. I got some things done. I did my morning routine. I filled out a day plan. Went and got my NRTs. NRTs are nicotine replacement therapy, and it's patches and lozenges. I've set a quit date. As soon as I get through that first day, the video, the next morning, I will tell you of that. And it's in the next few days. I'm not going to give you a specific date because if I fail, either way, if I succeed or I fail, the next morning you're going to hear about it. I just don't want to have the complication of being concerned about anything but how I feel about it, how I'm dealing with it. I don't care what anybody else thinks, except if I could brag about it the next day or admit my failure. Either way, I will do that. I'm going to start some seeds, broccoli seeds. The last couple of batches, they've just been turning to mush and rotting. And I'm not doing anything that I know is different. What I've been doing is filling a bottle, kind of a mason jar bottle, about halfway full, with filtered water, a little bit of soap, just like a drop. It's always more than a drop because I can never keep it at just a drop. It always comes out a little more than that. But that has never been a problem. And a little bit of vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I use like a drop just in the water to keep any bacteria from forming, which it always does anyways down the line. But once the things start to grow, I think they have some bit of an immune system to keep it from just taking them down totally. Because what I found is I get some white fuzzy stuff on the roots. But as long as I'm rinsing them at least once a day, it doesn't seem to affect them. Once they start to grow, they'll continue to grow. So I guess we both learned something about seeds, didn't we? Actually, I already knew all that, and it's not all that much. I'm learning myself. The 1% better daily, I am falling behind. And the thing about this is not the amount of time involved, it's the consistency. And I need to establish that. And it's just a few minutes of art, a few minutes of music, and the other thing, the wellness, I do way beyond what the minimum is right now, so that's never a problem. But the art and the music is just a few minutes every day. I've got a whole bunch of art projects already started in terms of music. I'm learning to read. I've got a keyboard here. I've got a guitar there. I'm learning to finger pick. I'm learning to read music. It shouldn't be that hard to push me to do it every day if it's just for a few minutes, just so I get used to doing it every day. And as I said, consistency is the key. If you've ever heard, like it takes 10,000 hours to become a master, which there's a lot of debate about how accurate that is, and at best, I think it's a rule of thumb. Some people are going to do some things much faster than others are. But in any event, that 10,000 hours, to me, what that means is dedicating a certain amount of time every day and doing it over a lot of days, not trying to cram 10,000 hours of practice in whatever in like 2 years. You know, you can do it if you stayed up late every day, but that's just not the best way to do it. If you've done any research into learning, and I haven't made this like a huge scope of study, although it's come up time and again in other things that I'm looking at, just dedicating, say, a half hour to a certain time. I think it's like if you study something in the evenings and then refresh yourself the next morning, it tends to do better than like if you expand the amount of time, if you double the amount of time, and then just do that once a day in the middle of the day. Sleep plays a big part of processing stuff. So if you study something for a half hour, you sleep for 8 hours, you're going to lose a lot of it anyways, because I'm assuming it's all new stuff. But when you refresh, you'll go over the stuff that you lost, and the stuff that you already have in short-term memory is now being relegated to long-term memory. So how you study, how you practice, how you do anything in terms of how much time is involved, when that time is involved, makes as much of a difference as just like trying to cram. Studying something for a half hour over the course of 8 days is going to be a lot more beneficial than trying to cram for 4 hours just before you take the test. And if you don't believe me, hey, you've got a subject in yourself, do a scientific experiment and see if I'm right. And if I'm wrong, put a comment down below. Thanks. Okay, so in terms of the 1%, I'm doing that 3 or 4 times today. That won't be hard because, like I said, it's just a few minutes each time. Once I put a piece, for example, out on a table in the bay, the piece that I'm working on, for example, the plastic piece, which is kind of a steampunk type of thing, I can only glue so much before I can't put any more on without disturbing the stuff that's already on there. And it only takes a few minutes to do that. So I whip up some JB Weld, I glue a bunch of plastic pieces on there, then I have to let it set. And then come back, do it again, come back, do it again. So that's a whole process. And I'll get into the logistics involved in something like that as compared to something like this. If I had the ambition and the dedication, I could actually wake up in the morning, eat something, and work on this straight through till it's done. The thing about a piece like this is I don't have to wait for anything to dry. I mean, if I'm working on one section and it's like, okay, I'm finished with him, or I'm halfway finished with him, but it's going to start to get muddy if I don't let it dry. Well, just start working on another section. So, a painting, it's easy to just continue, unless you're working in oil paints. But if you're working in acrylics, it's easy to just continue straight on through until the damn thing is done. And that's what I should be doing. That's where I'm trying to get. It ain't going to happen today. It ain't going to happen tomorrow. I know my limitations well enough to know no matter how hard I try to push against them, what I view myself accomplishing eventually is not going to happen overnight. It's like the one guy pushing the boulder up the hill in Hades. Sorry, I can't remember his name, but he didn't get to the top of the hill by taking one big step. It was a whole bunch of small steps, and it took a lot of time. That's what's going on here. Okay, I got to cut that piece of silver. I definitely need to do that today, and that's time consuming, but it's not challenging. I mean, it's only challenging in that it's going to take a certain amount of physical dedication. I'm sawing by hand through a piece of silver, and time. But it's like I put a line on a piece, I just cut straight through. It's not like making a more creative type of drawing or anything where I have to worry about proportion, and I have to worry about design and color and this, that, and the other. Mark a line, cut. So I need to do that today. I need to email a place that I was going to go drop off some recyclable plastic. I looked up where it's at, and it's far enough away that it's like, you know what, it's not worth it. I just don't have that much plastic. And it's unfortunate. I'm trying to clean out the shop, so everything is in bags in my work van, which means it's going to be getting in the way of all the scrap I'm going to be putting in there come this next tour. But that's it. I looked up where it's at, and it's like, I don't want to drive all that way, just spewing carbon. That's the Pomodoro. Okay, that's the Pomodoro alarm. I thought I'd try that. Anyways, I didn't want to drive all the way there and all the way back just to drop off a little bit of plastic. To my thinking, it's like, I'm not making the world a better place if I'm spewing out a bunch of exhaust just to get this plastic somewhere where they can recycle it. I need to make this a better operation, or it's just breaking even at best. It's a real hassle, trying in terms of forever chemicals, whatever they call the stuff that's reducing the amount of sperm that we have. Plastic, all the other carbon and toxins that come with burning gasoline or any kind of energy usage we're involved in. We're in it deep, and try changing that up. Basically, you have to live in a tent out in the wilderness. Everything's made of completely natural stuff. There are people who actually live like that. I've lived close to that kind of lifestyle at times. It's hard. It's hard, and it's not hard like you're doing a whole hell of a lot more work than you would be if you're doing a 40-hour-a-week job that you don't like, which I've done plenty of those. It's not harder, like, physically. Psychologically, it's harder. It's tough. It's tough being in that situation, and you might be out in nature, you might be able to take a lot of hikes and stuff like that, but it's just involved in that you're living a relatively solitary lifestyle, and there's a lot of boredom involved. And if you get even more hardcore than what me and my buddies were doing in the national park above Boulder, then yeah, it does tend to get a lot more physical. And in a way, that's good, because you're more active, you're going to be healthier. In another way, until you get used to that, that'll just wear you mighty thin. And in terms of, if you're going real hardcore, you better come prepared with a whole bunch of knowledge, because just to make sure you're getting enough nutrients, you got to know a whole shitload about what's edible. Otherwise, you become a vegetarian and you don't even know what the vegetables are, you're going to be sickly. So there's that. Okay, I already talked to Ron. I got the NRTs. That's taken care of. I still got to look up the code to the band so I can play the radio. I got to find those 2 documents. They're in one of 3 places. I just haven't done it. It's starting to pile up. I got to write 4 pages. And in terms of videos, I'm going to do as much as I can. I've just got sheet after sheet of ideas, half-written scripts. At the very least, I'm finishing this one. It's almost done as it is. So I'm going to finish this one and upload it. I'm going to go through all my paperwork and at least separate out all the scripts and the ideas and put them in a folder I already have. So those are all in one place. A lot of what I'm doing is getting all my ideas down on paper and then figuring out what that should look like. Because if I've got ideas for art, songs, I've got 20 original songs that eventually I want to record. All the lyrics are up here. That's not hard to do when you're singing your own music to yourself over and over and over, day after day after day, till you get sick of it. And that's how it happens when you come up with a really kick-ass idea for a song. Well, break is over. When you come up with a really kick-ass idea for a song, that song is going to be churning through your head nonstop until you can't forget it, no matter how long you live. So this is not a lot of work remembering the lyrics to all the songs I have in my head, because every one of them's kick-ass. So of course I remember them. But art, music, writing. I have a short story that I think is, well, it's probably my best piece of all the ideas that I've ever had. It's my best piece. It's closest to being finished. There's only a few paragraphs left, which is sometimes the hardest, scariest part, because it's like, all the rest of this is just so. I mean, it all works. Everything is fine. If I screw up now, I screw up the whole thing. That kind of mindset. And I just got to get past that, finish the damn thing, and put it out there. It's been that long that I'm not going to try and make a dime off it. I'm just going to put it out there and hopefully make a name for myself, get myself on the map. Art, music, stories, scripts for videos. And admittedly, and I accept this, a lot of this stuff I will never get to. And I'm comfortable with that, because it's easy to come up with ideas. I mean, you can have a eureka moment. It only takes one eureka moment, because it's like instantaneous. Oh my God, why didn't I think of that before? Why didn't anybody ever think of that? And now it's like, that's going to take me 2 weeks of nonstop work from dawn till dusk to finish that. The idea was that fast. Now, I got to make the stupid thing. The hard part settles in. That's what I'm getting better at. And by getting better at, I mean, I'm like 13 times better at that than I used to be. I've had the idea for that painting in my head for years. Now, anybody who's watched me to any extent knows that it's been right at that point for some time now. Like, I just hit a wall and I can't finish it. Well, I can finish it. The point I'm trying to make is, I've had that idea for years, and just now I've got it to that point where I actually know what it's going to look like when it's finished. All I have to do is finish it now. That's a huge improvement. But as I was saying, I'm much better than I used to be in actually taking ideas, writing them down to a very limited extent, because I'm still really bad at this, scheduling them, and starting them, which is the big thing, because you can't finish something you never start. So starting it is always step one. So, yeah, I've gotten a whole lot better, like a magnitude of times better than I used to be. But I'm still like 7 magnitudes of where I could be away. And I got to work on that. And it's hard. It's hard because the better I get, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier like, okay, now I can push myself this hard, so pushing myself even harder is going to get easier. No, it gets harder. It gets harder. The only thing about it is accepting that something being harder should not make it more psychologically stressful or scary. If you embrace the, okay, this is going to be hard, but I've learned to take doing uncomfortable things in stride, so I can do harder things now. So in effect, and I'll end with this because it's kind of mind-boggling to me, but it seems to be par for the course in this whole thing that I am striving to do, and that is embrace discomfort. Be willing to do hard things. Do something even if I'm afraid, knowing that, I'm not afraid like this is a mortal threat. I'm afraid like my mind is putting up any kind of resistance that it can to keep me from doing anything other than eating, sleeping, and fornicating. That's all my mind wants to do. So all the other things, it's like I have to break through that resistance. And it comes down to this. Now that I've gotten a little bit of that, I can do some of the hard things now. I'm teaching myself to be able to do the hard things. Now that I know that, now that I accept that embracing discomfort is more desirable than seeking comfort, I'm able to push myself a little harder. And there is this dichotomy. Yeah, pushing myself harder is both harder in the pushing myself part and the harder in I'm doing something even harder part now. So it's like there's two aspects of this is harder that come into play. On the other hand, realizing that this is the only thing that's going to advance me, this is the only thing that's going to bring me closer to where I want to be, makes that easier to do those things. And knowing, hey, I could do it in the past, I could do it in the future. Meaning, now. I did it back then. If I could do it then, I've grown since then. I can do it even more now. So doing harder things is on the one hand both harder and easier, as I suppose it should be. That's just the nature of being human. Being aware that something can be totally opposite things and yet still make perfect sense. At least if you're kind of weird in your thoughts like I am. If you're not, you're going to have to get there or none of this is going to make any sense.
I thank you for watching, and if you didn't watch, well, what's wrong with you, man? Talk to you tomorrow.